Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another Microsoft Flight Simulator video. I am here at Haneda Airport in Tokyo, Japan. I'm going to do a flight over Tokyo and also visit some of these landmarks that are recommended by the game. Tokyo is one of the cities in the world that I'm curious about and would like to visit in person. Here I have a chance to virtually visit it from the air, and of course it is one of the first places I planned out a flight through so I can get a nice view of Tokyo as well as some of the better rendered landmarks. So here is the Tokyo Haneda International, and one of the first landmarks we're going to head towards is the Tokyo Gate Bridge, which is located in the Tokyo Bay, connects island, one of the island to the main island of Japan. One of the things about Tokyo is that it is extremely large and fully developed metropolitan area. Tokyo houses something around 37 plus million people, so it's a massive developed metropolitan area. It's not really just one city. I think it's actually more like multiple cities all interconnected to each other, with Tokyo being the core of it. Alright, so here is the Tokyo Gate Bridge. One of the most interesting things about this bridge is not only is it beautiful because you're looking out at the Tokyo Bay, but the bridge, the way it's designed and the blue sections of support, if you look at it from far away, let's get a different angle here to really kind of see it. It looks like two, I would call them not necessarily horses, but almost like, you know, two creatures facing each other when you're kind of approaching and leaving it. If you look at it from far away, I don't know if that is something you could visualize, but it certainly affected the way I see it when I was flying over the bridge, that it looks almost like two animals facing each other, which is kind of cool. One of the next major landmark that we're going to have to fly to would be the Tokyo Skytree.
Tokyo Tower JMB Aviation Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra.
I'm leaving the airspace, so I get a lot of chatter right around this point. But I wanted to kind of look at the Skytree from inside the airplane as we fly towards it. With this propeller in the front type aircraft, I think the inside the airplane view can be more difficult to see clearly than outside. So let's stick with the outside view. Here's a major highway we just flew over, along with some buildings and what looks like some kind of a stadium. Look at this. I mean, this is just looking north and south of, or east and west actually, of the plane. And it's amazing just how many structures and buildings as far as the eyes can see. But what's also amazing is as you approach the Skytree, you really get a feel for just how massive the structure is. I mean, this is supposed to be the tallest structure in Japan, and it's no doubt that it is a huge structure, because look at the little apartment buildings I would assume they are. I mean, those things are probably 10 stories tall, but this Skytree makes them look tiny. And even compared to some of the what looks like high-rise buildings nearby, they're absolutely dwarfed by this Skytree. It must be amazing to go on top of the Skytree's observation deck, if there is one, and just kind of gaze over Tokyo. I mean, this is a incredibly tall structure, so it's always fun to go to these tall structures, get to the top, and then get a nice view from the top. It would be a similar view to the view that I would have from an airplane, in essence, because you're so high up. Alright, so kind of banking away from the Skytree to head towards the next major attraction. Yes, Rainbow Bridge is ahead of us, but it's kind of far away. Let's go towards the Center City area. There's the National Diet Building. We'll look at that later. Let's go ahead and see if I can get us to Center City Business District, the Shinjuku District, I believe it's called. But another view from flying over the city. Just look at how densely packed everything is in Tokyo. And look at this. I can't even see the edge of this city from any direction while I'm flying over it. It is absolutely massive. And everywhere you fly over Tokyo and surrounding area, it's densely packed like this. There are very little areas of greenery, like these parks that we seem to be flying over. I guess those are preserved areas, but for the most part, the city is heavily and densely built up and populated. So there's no doubt 37 million people live in this area. Okay, so we're starting to approach the Mode Cocoon Tower, is what I'm going to call it, because I don't want to pronounce that word in the middle. And that is a 50-story building, but it has a pretty unique structure because it's kind of rounded in design. It's actually used as some kind of educational facility, if I'm correct in my research. But it is definitely one of the interesting structures that you'll see in Center City, Tokyo. In addition, there are a few other buildings there that we're coming up on. The Sunpo Japan building, but one of the major structures here that we're going to fly right by is also the government building. This is the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building right here. I'm going over the Cocoon Building now. Well, kind of going to the side and over it. And here is the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building, which is interesting two-tower design near the top half. Let's not crash into them. So some nice, interesting buildings right here in the Shinjuku. I guess this would be the city business center area. Much like most business centers in major cities, that's where you get a lot of your high-rise buildings. So here we fly over some greenery heading towards the Yoyogi National Gymnasium. This is an interesting structure. This is built, I think, in the 60s, but in this game it's rendered very nicely with a almost like a reflective top. And I know that the architectural design of this gymnasium is that it has some kind of a what they call suspended roof design. I don't know what that means. I'm not an architect, but what I can tell you is that it definitely stands out as you fly over it, and the reflection from the sun bouncing off of it makes it look really cool as well when you approach and then depart from that. Well, here's Mount Fuji, if you can see it. I know it's really faint and small from this angle, but that's the best angle I can get for it. You can see Mount Fuji from Tokyo, but to fly to it from Tokyo takes quite a while in a small plane like this. I actually tried it and I gave up because it took too long. Alright, next stop, Rainbow Bridge. But before we even get there to the Rainbow Bridge, I want to point out that the Tokyo Tower, which is that red tower you see kind of towards the center of the screen, is not a landmark for whatever reason. Okay, Rainbow Bridge is another bridge in Tokyo that connects basically Tokyo Bay between, I guess it's called the Shibara Pier and the Odaba waterfront. I probably butchered the names, but it's a long bridge, but it's not a super long bridge. There are other bridges in Japan that actually stands out as far as long bridges even in the world. But this bridge is interesting in that it's called the Rainbow Bridge because the way it's lit up at night. So it is a bridge that runs between two islands. One of the islands is actually man-made, and it takes you back to the main island of Japan in Tokyo. But what's most interesting about this bridge isn't how it looks necessarily during the day, but how it looks at night. Coming from a different approach at night, you get to really see how it's rendered with the lighting. We can't see everything. So in reality, what happens with this bridge is at night, the bridge is actually changing lights, changing colored lights that runs along the suspension wires, which makes it and gives it its namesake of Rainbow Bridge. However, I can tell you, based on a nighttime photo I've seen, the towers and the way they kind of are lit up greenish red with that white base light actually isn't that far off from how it would look on some nights in real life. So that's a pretty good job. So it's actually a well done nighttime view. Okay, back to today, and we're heading for National Diet Building. Now, when I first read that name, I'm going, what? The Japanese care about their diet that much that they name a building the National Diet Building and make it a national landmark? You know, this is why you need to do your research before you start spewing stuff, right? So I did some research and I found out really National Diet Building is actually like their legislative building. It's kind of like our congressional building here in the United States. I mean, look at it. It even has a little bit of that look to it of your typical, you know, government style building. So this is actually a legislative building. Has nothing to do with your diet or losing weight. But I do have to say the Japanese people in general seems to have better diet and is healthier than your average American. All right, now, switching gears, the wind tower. I actually changed planes to do this part because I wanted a plane that can land in water. Because I'm going to fly real low, I may actually want to land near the wind tower. The wind tower is an interesting landmark in that what it's supposed to be doing is providing air to this 6-mile long underwater tunnel that cars drive through. I mean, that's what I read. So this is an interesting structure, and certainly sticking out outside of Tokyo Bay kind of by itself makes it kind of eye-catching too. When you take off from Haneda Airport, actually this is off in the distance in the ocean. You're like, what is that? So I took this Icon plane because it can land in the water and it can take off in water. So we're going to try to get a nice view of this wind tower by landing right near it. I think I failed a little bit here by landing a little too far, but it is not bad. That actually gives you a pretty clear view of what it looks like. And with that successful landing in the water, I have completed my quick tour of Tokyo. Before we end the video, let's take one more look from a higher altitude of the greater Tokyo metropolitan area, just to kind of again re-emphasize the feel of just how much there are to explore in this particular flight. So we've only seen a small portion, but I am going to take some more time and do some more exploration on my own, and again hope that someday I will actually get to see Tokyo in person. Thank you for joining me, and I will catch you in a future flight in Microsoft Flight Simulator.